Welcome back to Creative Encounter Podcast. I'm your host, Jewett Payne, and this is episode 24. We are vibing on this podcast. Thank you guys so much for those who show up every week to catch an episode. If you're on YouTube, hello. We'd love for you to subscribe. If you're on Spotify, please leave a rating. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. This helps us to go ahead and get into that algorithm and reach so many more Kingdom creatives. But today, I have a very special guest. This is my friend, Keilah Jude. Keilah, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
I know. I'm
Thank
so
you
excited you're here. Of course. So Keilah, she is a model. She is an actress, and she is out here killing it, signing deals and all this awesome stuff. We're going to go ahead and dive into that in a little bit. But man, Keilah, I'm so thrilled to have you here. This is going to be fun.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And I love this podcast because especially you focus in on the creatives, but also with the Kingdom element, which is so nice because I think it is a group that often gets overlooked.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you so much. And you know what? That was the heart of it when we created it, of just like, man, I feel like sometimes we're on the back burner, Kingdom creatives specifically, and the world needs to know, for us to go out there and reach the world like Christ told us, we got to let people know what we're doing, you know?
Totally.
So I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so we can either start from how you got into your craft.
Okay.
But I think the second thing is what we're going to start with. How did we meet? I want to kind of start there. You know
what I'm
saying? Okay, so from your perspective, I want you to tell me, how did we meet? And what was your, like we're live, tell people, I don't care. Tell people, like, what was your reaction to me when you first met me? Just like,
okay.
Tell us the whole thing.
So he's friends with my husband. That's how I met him and his wife, Gabby. Yeah. And what was so funny is, like, I got a warning before I ever met him that him and my husband are so goofy when they get together.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
It's bad.
Wait, okay, so who gave the warning? I'm going to assume it's Jessica, maybe.
I don't remember who it was. It might have been my husband, Garrett. I don't know. It's probably everyone. They're like, just heads up. Just heads up. We have a vibe. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Now, you guys had just gotten married.
Yeah.
Maybe like a month, 2 or 3 months before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was before we hung out. So he was probably still in that phase of just like, I got to put up a good impression. So let me let her know. Hilarious. But yeah, that's awesome. And Garrett is a really good friend. We were in campus ministry together. And he recorded probably half of the tracks on the drums on my first record, Who Am I? So Garrett's a really good friend, man of God.
But when these two get together, they are hilarious. I mean, just a total like, just makes you laugh nonstop.
Ridiculous when you're saying. So I may have Garrett on here one day, not to even talk about creativity.
Just to have fun.
Just to talk.
Yeah,
like, we start off
it would
all
just
normal.
be worth listening because they're just hilarious.
Hilarious. I love it. Okay, cool. So now we're going to talk about you.
Okay.
So tell me, so acting, well, I don't know. I think acting was maybe your first thing that you fell in love with. Yeah. How did that start? And like, was it from like a young age? Did you have a family member that kind of inspired you to do it? Like, how did that all unfold?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I was like, this is cool. Yeah. So I always thought the characters on TV were real, right?
Yeah.
Until I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, and someone said something about an actor. I said, actor? What's an actor? Right. They're like, well, Xenon Princess Warrior or whatever her name is.
Xena. Yeah.
She's an actress. Yeah. And I'm like, no. Like she's real.
She's on the earth and she's really doing that. Yeah.
And she's like fighting bad guys. But no. So I was like, well, that's really cool. I was like, I want to do that. My mom's like, absolutely not. She's like, when you can drive, you can do whatever you want.
Love it.
So I just pursued things like theater or like church plays. And I was like, this is so great. I'm so excited.
Wow, no way.
So
you really just got a thrill from doing that, man.
Yeah, I just thought it was so cool. I remember the first time I was probably like 4th grade, I did a church play, and it was a bigger church, like it was like 1,000 people, but just getting to do that in front of people, I was like, this is awesome. I want to do this again. So anyway, by the time I turned 17, 18, I was like, well, Mom, I can drive now, so I'm gonna go get an agent, and I did.
She brought it back up 10 years later. Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna remember this.
Yeah, which good for my mom. I don't think I was like. For me personally, I don't think I would have done well as like a child actor. Yeah, okay. I'd probably be super messed up today. I don't know. So
no, seriously, that's a whole nother conversation for another episode because that's like Gabby and I talk about that a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure other children can do it well. I just wasn't. I don't think it was a good choice for me, and my mom saw that, and I'm grateful. So
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool. Okay, so you got pretty serious with it because you said at that time you got an agent and everything.
Yeah.
You didn't just go out and so you got an agent, and the agent's job was to kind of help you find those gigs and kind of just manage you and things like that. I love it. So how was that situation when you began to have an agent?
It was so cool because they put me on like really, really big job auditions. So I ended up booking. Did you ever see The Last Witch Hunter?
I've not. I've heard of it.
It's got Vin Diesel. Okay. And I was in that movie.
Yeah, no way.
So yeah, I was
you said
in there.
Vin Diesel was in it?
Yeah,
what?
yeah. In
Who
Game
are
of
you?
Thrones, Leslie Rose. I was cast as a runway model, so
So
it was
runway
really
model.
fun.
Okay. And then on Game of Thrones.
So I wasn't on Game of Thrones, but
Okay.
Leslie Rose from Game of Thrones was on there. So
That's dope.
yeah. And Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings. So that was fun.
Yeah, Elijah Wood. That's great.
I know.
Holy
So cool.
smokes, that's so cool. Never gonna watch that.
Yeah, now you gotta go watch it.
Okay, do you know the exact minute that you're in it?
So yes, it's the scene where he's walking through. There's like a runway show. And Vin Diesel's character is walking through. He's like a witch hunter. He's looking for the bad guys. And they have a scene where I'm sitting in the chair. There's this girl who is not a hair and makeup obsessed, but she's pretending to be, so she's doing my hair. And I'm just like, yeah, this is great.
No way.
And then, And then they had a CGI. The girl next to me had these little dots on her face. And it was fun because they turned her into a witch. So it was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? That's really cool.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Congratulations on
Thanks.
that. Yeah.
But it was interesting because I started going for like really big jobs. Movies that would be in the theater, and then it was just interesting to see like when they didn't cast me, and I would be like, oh, well, let's see who they did cast, and I'm like, you went in a totally different direction.
Okay. Now, was it a different direction from your audition, or a different direction from what was kind of scripted for you to audition with, like from how your personality and how you did it?
Like I remember one in particular. It was a teenage girl that was pregnant.
Okay.
And then they ended up choosing an actress who, she just looked so young. Like, she probably was like 15, 16, but she looked like she could have been 11. Like, just very different looking, the way she played it was very like meek and like just totally different than the way I played it. And so it's just funny to see what casting directors and directors pick.
What they're looking for and everything.
Yeah,
Wow,
so it's cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so now you were in what state at the time? Because I know, going back to you and Garrett for a moment, I believe you were in Texas?
I was. So I was actually in Ohio. That's where I went to my university.
Okay. Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay. And then is your family in Texas then?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. Now you came. And
Have you been to Texas?
I've never been to Texas.
Oh, you gotta go.
I gotta go. Okay.
There's really good food.
Really?
Yeah. Tex-Mex and barbecue.
What'd
you say?
It's better than our food, though. Everyone in people in Chicago are watching this, so you better.
I know.
Yeah, so.
It depends on your palate. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, because we can stop recording right now. No, okay, so.
Chicago has good food, though.
Yeah, Chicago's dope. Okay, so you came from Texas to Chicago to this cold city. How are you liking it up here? And has that changed, kind of like your connections as it relates to acting and different things like that?
Yeah, so actually, Chicago has an abundance of acting opportunities. There's a couple TV shows that film here. There's lots of print work, more so like on the commercial side. But there's a lot of work here. It is a little chilly, but if you kind of just don't focus on it, you survive, right? I mean, am I right?
You have to survive Chicago. That's
Are you born and raised in Illinois? Okay.
I am.
So you don't know any different.
No, but we still despise it. Everyone who lives here, born and raised, we're always like, why are we here? Like, we've had these conversations all the time.
Right.
So that's cool. That love brought you here, though.
Yeah. Love brought me here.
I love it.
Garrett. Well, because when we were dating, he came to Texas for a pastor's conference. We got coffee, and I was like, I kind of like this dude.
Yeah.
But it was funny because he was like, well, God's calling me to plant a church in Illinois. And I was like, oh, you're going to put the God card on it. Well, I can't trump that, so you win.
Yeah, I love it. That's
so
awesome.
I'll move to there.
Yeah, well, we're so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Illinois is awesome.
Love it. Cool. Okay, so I'm just minding my own business. We follow each other on Instagram. I'm just minding my business, just kind of scrolling. And I see my girl in a commercial. I'm like, hold up. And this is my store. All of us all my Aldi people put a like on this video, So,
you love Aldi.
So Keilah is doing an Aldi commercial. I'm like, this is dope. So tell me how that came about and like, what's that?
Yeah. So actually it was my fourth one. It just released January 2023 and I love Aldi. Yeah. So I couldn't be more thrilled. I was like, this is great. Yeah. Thanks Aldi. Love you. Love you so much. Yeah. Shout out to Aldi. But no, I just, I auditioned and they brought me in, and the first time was in 2021 or 22 was the first commercial. And then they had me shoot a couple more, and then they had like this group of actors, and out of all the actors, I was the only one they brought back for this next batch. I was like, thanks, Aldi.
Man.
Like, I feel very blessed.
Oh,
so
my goodness,
I was excited.
That's so cool.
It was fun.
Now this podcast is to really help the creative to be able to like know practicalities and things like that. So it's like, man, this is inspiring, but like, how do I actually do it, right? You know.
Totally.
So with that, what even led you to the audition? How did that come about to even pursue that? Like, you're sitting around, like, did someone pass it to you? Do you know, like, specific places to go and search for different things like that?
Totally.
You know?
Totally. Yeah. So anybody that's like an aspiring actor, or if you're just like, how do I find these auditions? Where do I get started? A couple of sites that I really recommend: actorsaccess.com, backstage.com, and casting networks. Yep. So they post auditions, and it's to the general public. You can submit your materials, so your headshot, your resume. If you have acting clips, you can send those. And then they'll call you in if they feel like you could be a right fit. Or they'll do what's called a self-tape, which is where you submit it to the casting, and then that way they can select an actor. Yeah. So that's a really great way to get started if, you know, you're like, I'm interested in acting or modeling. I really recommend those websites.
Wow. Good. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So we have the acting component there. And then you did mention modeling too. So that was most recently. So I heard you got signed with a specific company.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about that. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, so tell me about that side
totally.
too. Yeah.
So my new agent is Joanna Underwood and her husband Don Underwood with B&B Talents in Chicago. And so I'm really excited for that. They are awesome. So it'll be for modeling and acting. I've been signed for about 1 week now. I got one audition already. So I'm like, yay, this is great.
That's good. That's awesome. That's a quick turnaround.
It is. I'm really thankful. Yeah. So, and you know, I know agents work really, really hard to get you into auditions. And just because they pitch you doesn't mean, you know, that you always get accepted or, you know, you're what the crew is looking for. But I know they work really, really hard. So.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
so
cool.
Exciting.
Great. Now, you're juggling quite a bit of things. Now,
my plate is full.
Your plate is full because you have these things going, which is fantastic because sometimes you can get, I guess, kind of caught up in what your spouse may be doing and then kind of put your things on the back burner and things like that. But God is calling all of us to do specific things for Him and just for our creativity to be expressed. You know, we want that to always be happening. But as you mentioned, your husband is a pastor now. You guys are planting, or has it started now?
Yeah, so it started. It started in October 2022.
Okay, good.
So, it's really exciting. We're in Glen Allen Access Church. It's brand new. And it's so funny. It's ended up being like a really young church, which is so funny. Yeah. I didn't expect that necessarily, but like all these like college students and teenagers keep joining. Awesome. I'm like, awesome. So.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So how is it balancing, you know, the church and then all the other creative endeavors that God has called you to do?
Yeah.
Have you had any conflict with it, and how do you kind of manage it?
No. So there hasn't been any conflict. One thing I felt so strongly is that when God calls you into something, He really supports you and provides for you and backs you up. And we were actually talking about this with Gabby just before we went live, but it's funny though. It's just, I really feel like God really provides. So like whatever it is you need, if you need finances, if you need just even encouragement, or sometimes it comes through people in your community encouraging you. So I felt like God's really been helping us to balance it all. But at the same time, trying to pursue, it's like we have two callings that are really different worlds. And, you know, at the same time, trying to move forward with both of them. And I feel like God's really been helping us to do that. And it is two really different worlds, but it's working. So,
wow. Praise God. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love how you mentioned the encouragement part, because sometimes as you're doing these different things, you do feel like, man, am I doing, because you're doing good things, but is this what God is calling me to do?
Right.
You know? And it's nice when you have individuals to kind of come, or even just His word, to kind of just show you and confirm, like, this is what He wants you to do.
Totally.
You know, I've had a couple situations like that the last few weeks. Had a guest here a few weeks ago who brought me a gift, woke up that morning and said, God told me to bring you this specific gift and to let you know that He's proud of you.
That's awesome.
And that was something I was thinking, because I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm not doing too many things and then kind of missing the mark. Because the whole thing, I was talking about balance on the show because I want you guys to be healthy creatives who are not just striving but thriving in your gifts. You know, that's key. So balance is a really big component. And then someone else at church randomly mentioned something too. It's like, man, this is really cool. Like, God, you doing those little nuggets of like, hey, I see you. Praise God, you know. So
that's
absolutely
so cool.
love that.
I love when people just use that gift of encouragement to just help people to keep going. Because I think with creatives, I think a huge thing that we face is rejection. Especially in the like acting, modeling world. And I feel like it's true in music. It's true in just anything, whatever your creative field is, whether it's the beauty industry or whatever it is, there's just so much rejection. And it's so easy to lose sight of why you're doing this in the first place. Should I even be here? So it's really important to have that community that can encourage you, like, hey, don't quit, keep going. You're doing important work.
Exactly. And on that same token there, how has it been? Because again, us as creatives, we do have the field where we're judged. Like that's part of it. Like if you make new music, people have to enjoy it for it to actually, you know, sell. Or if you're acting, people have to enjoy that for, you know, for the tickets or, you know, to call you back for another one and all of that stuff, right? So how have you dealt with that over the years? Has everything you've auditioned for always just kind of been streamlined? Or has it been some situations where it's like, okay, this kind of hurt, or I really wish that this had happened and it didn't? Okay,
totally.
Yeah.
So I feel like with acting and modeling and just the creative field in general, I feel like it's a roller coaster. There's like the super highs where you're like, woohoo, I booked this feature film, I got this commercial, this agent signed me, whatever it is. And then there's like the super lows where it's like, it's been a couple weeks, I have not booked anything. And, you know, I went on for this audition and they gave it to someone else, or I got this close. They had me come to like 3 callbacks, but then they were like, yeah, we're going with the other girl. And I'm like, great, thanks. I remember especially when I was younger, I had an agent in New Orleans, and he would send me out for really, really big auditions. And he's a phenomenal, phenomenal agent. Ali Al-Harami, he goes by, he's also an actor, Alec Ramey, if you ever wanted to look him up. He's a big dog. He actually does like really big stuff. But he... I remember would constantly just like pitch me, did such a great job. But like, I remember I auditioned for like Vampire Diaries and I didn't get it. And I remember he called the casting director just to say, hey, like, what did you think? Basically like, you know.
Get some feedback.
What's going on here? Like, is there something that we should change or what's going on? And she was like, oh no, we really liked her. We'd like to see her again, just not for this role, you know. But it kept, when those start to pile on, you're just like, oh man. Of course.
Like, especially when there's no specific like reasoning why.
Right.
You're like, okay, what can I change?
Right. Or you go into your audition and they put a pin thing on you and it's like number 484. I'm like, 484? Like, how many people are you bringing in here? Like, woo.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. And I remember just feeling so discouraged. And I actually had a moment with that old agent. And he's no longer doing agency. He's just doing acting work. But we're still friends to this day. He's awesome. Yeah. If you ever want to hire him, he's awesome in the Atlanta area. But he, I remember he got me this job audition. I can't remember if I was just busy or I got disillusioned and I didn't turn it in or whatever. That's a big no-no. If your agent gets you an audition, you got to do it. Yeah. So what ended up happening, I think I was either like disillusioned or I was so busy that I didn't get around to it. Either way. So he called me up. He's like, hey, you did not turn in your self-tape audition. I was like 19, 20 at the time. Like, I just didn't realize how big of a deal it was. Big mistake. Never do it again in my life, I swear. And he was like, Keilah. This was like the love interest of a Ryan Reynolds. I was like, oh, well, you could have told me that before. You know, they would have changed a couple things. But, you know, I apologize. And as I've gotten older, I realized, like, actually, it's a really big deal for your agent who's going to pitch their head off for you. You need to show up when they do get you an audition. And it doesn't matter if you're feeling disillusioned or you feel like you're in a rut or you're, like, dealing with rejection. Like, you've got to push through and be professional. And here's the thing, like, if you don't shoot your shot, you never know when you'll actually get it. And so with creatives, like, my encouragement to anybody who's in the field of a creative industry is don't quit, don't give up.
Yeah.
And if you have an agent and they get you an audition, make sure you do it or you will get chewed out. I learned that lesson as like a teenager and I will never do it again.
There we go. I love it. I love it. That's so good. That's what you guys need to take away. That's so good.
That's your takeaway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love it. Okay, so you say you were 19 when that kind of happened and everything. So you've been running this for just like years now. Do you have a specific goal? Like, you know, sometimes like, oh yeah, I want to specifically do movies or TV shows or commercials. Like, what's your big goal? Or one may want to start, you know, a company in the future. Like, what's like a part of your end goal? If you
yeah, totally. So I still want to do more television work. Yeah. I want to do more feature films. Now, you know, Chicago does Chicago PD, Chicago Fire.
Now, you like more
Chicago
drama, more like comedy. Like, what's your
realm?
I mean, me and Garrett can handle the comedy.
Yeah, you guys can do the comedy. I'll cry. I'll be the drama person.
Okay. But like, what is your specific like style?
Yeah. So I love anything that is comedy, like upbeat, lighthearted. Those are always fun. Yeah. I'm down for drama too. Yeah. You know, I can cry on cue. We can make that happen.
Love it.
You know, anything really that I just love a good script. I love a good story. I love a good character that I can bring to life. It's just really, really nice, especially when it's like a strong female character. Yeah. That's really awesome too. Yeah. So,
that's so cool. That's great. Okay, so you. Like, for example, your family and like your parents and everything like that. So when you started getting into this, how were they feeling? And like, was, you know, encouragement? Or like, what was
so my community was shocked. Like, my parents were blown away. They're like, wait, what did you get? Like, I remember I did a runway show. It was Project Runway's Althea Harper and like America's Next Top Model Laura Kirkpatrick. And I'm like, do you guys want to come to the show? And they're like,
wait, okay, so what about America's Next Top Model?
How did you find this? So Laura Kirkpatrick, she's in Kentucky. She was on America's Next Top Model. Yep. She started a designer brand called Grumbage. And so she was doing like runway shows. So I got selected to do like a runway. Yeah. So like I started doing all these like runway things. I started doing magazines. My parents were just kind of blown away. They're like, not to be rude, but they're like, you?
They bogus.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And like my community too. You know, the funny thing is I was so insecure in high school. Here's the funny thing. Like people started paying me on these photo shoots. I was so insecure in high school with like the way I looked. I didn't think I was pretty at all. 3 of the 4 years I was in high school, when they said, hey, come down to get your yearbook photo, I didn't go.
Wow.
You can fact check me on that. Like you can literally go look at my high school yearbook. 3 out of the 4 years, I will not be there. Wow. Because I was like, I can't take a photo. Like, I felt so ugly and you know, teenage girls are so insecure. Oh, yeah. So,
and then in addition, teenagers in general don't help with that because they're just
they're so mean kids. And
So, I want to kind of start from there because this was something that it just popped back now from when you were younger. You still love the acting piece. So what pushed you through to like, you know, be on stage, to be in front of people? Because for me, no matter how big the crowd is, I love being on stage. Yeah. Like I talk to Gabby about that all the time. Like I just feed off of people. Like this is like my favorite thing. Just having these conversations. So cool. You know, and being on stage is just like being able to just share your gift and people just jump in. Oh, it's amazing. But how are you being on stage with, it seems like maybe behind the scenes? Because, you know, acting, you know, kind of be that I guess I'll say facade for lack of a better word. But with that, were the insecurities there? Were you feeling bold on stage? Like, how was that? You know? Yeah. So it's funny with like feature films, commercials. It's like a smaller crew. It's not like this like thousands of people are there. So it's actually, the pressure feels less because, I mean, the pressure is on because you don't want to waste people's time. You want to do your take well. But like if you mess up, they say cut and then they, you know, redo it. Yeah. I have so much respect for like theater actors and people on the stage because it's like so intense. You can't mess up, and if you mess up, you gotta pretend like you didn't. You gotta keep going. Oh yeah. So when I do things like when I do runway shows or I've done theater, and there's been like a crowd of people. I mean, I get so nervous. Like it's exciting nervous, but I'm nervous. I'm like, whoo, there's a lot of people here. So that makes sense. Wow. But you pushed through and you made it happen. And then what pushes you to still do it?
Oh gosh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. It's my passion. It was like when God made me. It was like he just like, and then she loves this industry and like sprinkled that in because I just love it. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Someone was telling me the other day, they were like, we work with teens like at the church and stuff. She was like, I want to do mine. I'm like, do it. This is awesome. She's like, but I just want to get paid. And I was like, doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Nope.
I'm like, it's kind of like, you know, soccer players, right? Yeah. You got to start small and like learn how to play soccer, learn how the game works. And then eventually, you know, maybe you can go pro, but it's like, you got to start small, you know, go to your local theater, do, figure out how these things work, you know, take an acting class, just these different things. So it was kind of funny, where they're like, I just want to make money. I'm like, try again. Yeah.
Still gotta cut it. Yeah, you have to have the passion for it.
Yeah.
And then the gifting and everything all ties in together with it too. Yeah.
Wow. So like when you're on stage, do you ever feel nervous or is that gone?
No. So it's always right before.
Okay.
Literally right before starting, like, we're literally about to start.
Yeah. It's like,
and so you say, hey, what's up, everybody, and stuff as it's happening. I think it's this thing of like, you're not gonna run off. You can't be scared. Whatever you got to do it's already starting.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what comes from it.
Okay. So before you go out, you feel a little nervous. But once you're there, you're like, we're fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I found that the more and more I do something, the less and less nervous I get. Yeah. But like, I was nervous when I did my first runway show because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was terrified. Yeah. And there was a lot of people there too. And I was like, oh my gosh. So
how many on average do you think was there? Like,
I mean, it was at a local mall, so it was just like whoever was in the mall kind of like came in. Yeah, and then also it's like people from like your school and stuff. I think I was a senior in high school.
It's the worst doing stuff. It's the worst doing stuff with people like family, like auditioning, like if you perform right in front of your family. If it's just people you don't know, it's so easy.
Yeah, totally. But it's like people from high school and stuff. I'm like, oh great. But anyway, I was so nervous that I think my memory like blacked out because people were like, how did it go? Are you nervous? I'm like, I don't really remember going. Like, does it look okay? You took a video. I don't know.
That's hilarious. You're like, I did that? That's me? Like, you don't remember anything?
I'm just so nervous. I'm like, I don't know what happened.
I love it. That's so great. That's hilarious. Okay, so I was thinking about when you were saying like just the ups and downs of it. Just like, you know, you put yourself out there, you put your soul out there into your craft, and then whatever feedback you get, or if you get the role or the spot and all that stuff, all of that can take a toll, you know, and everything. Yeah. And I heard someone say this on Instagram, which was really cool. I follow like, you know, some of those like page, like those success page things and stuff like that. And it was one that he was saying, when you think about life, when you look at like our heartbeat and everything, it's always just going up and down. Yeah. You know, and then if we know if it's just steady, you know, then you're dead, right? You know, so people sometimes just want life to just kind of just coast and be fine. Yeah. But we gotta realize part of life is just like, you know, going up is going to be a part where you're coming down. Totally. And then when you're down, that part where you're coming back up is always going to come, you know? Yeah. So I think that's the whole thing we have to remember as creatives, to push us through, to be like, this isn't going to always be like this, you know? Yeah. And even preparing us when things are going well to strengthen us, to be like, okay, if there's a bad day, I can remember. That's why God calls us so much in Scripture. Remember what I've done.
Yes.
You know,
oh my gosh,
all
so
through,
good.
You know, he says that all through the word, like, remember what I've done. You know, he always says, I'm Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. You know, he tells the Israelites over and over. For when the next trial comes, it's like, y'all think I can't do this, handle this situation? You know, so.
Yeah, it's so wild you're bringing that up. That was literally what I was just studying in the Word. Nice. So it's like confirmation.
It's crazy. Right now, me and some friends, we're doing like the whole Bible in a year thing. Yeah. We've been saying for years we want to do it like together with some friends. Yeah. So now we're doing it together. So it's so dope, just kind of going back and resurveying these things. A big thing, I'm going to do an episode on this. A big thing for me is when Jethro told Moses about delegating his tasks or he's going to burn himself out. You know, that's key. And I love that when you jumped right into it, you made sure to get an agent. Like, you're ready. You're, like, planning it out. I love that, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just going to go out and just try to do everything on my own and not have any type of representation or support. But you did that right away. And a lot of us try to just handle everything. Yeah, of course. A lot of us try to handle everything, and you can burn yourself out, and that's why a lot of people may give up. Or the young actors and stuff we talked about, they may have all these different issues. But we want to try to combat that stuff, because God doesn't put that stress on us like that, you know? I love it. Okay, cool. So it is 2023.
Yes.
I want to know, what is one big goal or endeavor, something we can expect for this year from Keilah Jude?
Yeah. Well, my goal is Chicago has a couple TV shows. So my goal is I want to land at least one of them.
I love it.
That's my goal. Yeah.
You got this.
So one of them, right? There's Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med. So I'm like, whichever one.
Yeah, there
totally
we go.
Fine.
Now, which one was our girl on Sophia Bush?
Sophia Bush. That was Chicago PD.
That's PD?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know she did quite a few seasons. She's not on there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but man, because we're like, Gabby and I were watching One Tree Hill.
Was that kind of how she got her start?
No, One Tree Hill.
Oh, okay, One Tree Hill.
One Tree Hill, yeah. Did you ever watch One Tree Hill?
You know, not really.
Not really?
But I've heard.
You're probably too young.
I'm a little too young, but I've heard.
Just like a couple years younger than me. But anyway, so One Tree Hill was on for like 9 years.
Okay.
Like, we're literally on the 9th season finally. So we're sitting here like, oh no, we only got like 15 episodes left. We're like, it's almost over. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much like where she started. Yeah.
That's the worst when you like really love a TV show.
No,
and it's like almost over. You're like, oh, this is so
crazy.
sad. But you know, the other thing is like God really does. God's a creator, and He really does anoint people for creating whatever that is. And like with the field of film, especially like me and my relationship with God, He speaks to me through film all the time. And I just really feel like there's so much value in resting with a good movie or resting with a TV show. And yes, it can turn into a bad thing when like all we do is watch TV. You know, I'm not advocating for like, you know, all you do is binge watch every day, all day. But I do feel like it has its place. And I really feel like God just speaks so much through film and through story. When you look at the Bible, I mean, Jesus was constantly talking in parables. And He was, you know, basically illustrating through story His points. And I feel like God speaks to me all the time through movies. So, and I don't know if He does that with other people, but it's just my relationship with God. So it's just fun to see how God uses story.
I love it. It's so true. Like literally, there's a verse that says, it says, in fact, he would pretty much only speak through parables when he was ministering to the people. So he would always do it through these stories, and he had to try to think and, you know, dig. I think he was really just about them seeking. You see scripture, seek the kingdom of heaven, seek the kingdom. So he always wants us to dig and seek and all that, even in our craft too. Because something that I would struggle with as a musician is music comes easy to me. Yeah. So, to the point where like if I just hear something right away, I hear all the notes that's in it.
That's key. How you know you have the gift.
Yeah. Well, praise God. But the bad part of that is that it's like you'll find yourself not practicing because you're just like, I could just pick this up. But God's like, no, I want to honor. God honors when we're actually practicing and actually putting that work in, and not just being like, oh, I could just jump in whenever and stuff. All the extra work that goes on behind the scenes is key too, you know. And it's just a great example. You don't want to be the one who's just like, you know, my worship team, we talk about this all the time. Be the one who just kind of just shows up while everyone else, you know, busts their tail, you know, getting stuff. You know, to be able to be as excellent as possible and go to that next level, you know.
And that's something that like I really admire about musicians is you guys are always striving, especially like people who lead worship. I've noticed that you guys are always like, yes, it's a joyful noise, but we also like aim for excellence. And I think that's so cool. I mean, someone like me, I wouldn't notice either way. But
do you sing? You doing Broadway this year?
Yeah.
So that's a yes. I'm just kidding. Okay, so that's a no, I guess. Hilarious. Okay, so pretty much. Oh, so what you were saying was like the excellent piece, because it says make a joyful noise. I always stick to that because like not every noise. I mean, God wants our heart, but you got to be able to sing. You know, you got to be able to hit a note. You got to be in tune. Like what's up?
That's also somebody who's like gifted with music would say.
I'm like, Lord, you can't just sing and just think that's okay. Okay, but anyway, I mean, you can if you're in the congregation.
Sure.
I'm going on a tangent now, so we're done here.
No, that's good.
Hilarious. Okay, cool. So we pretty much always wrap up every episode with giving some type of support to the creatives, some kind of like final thought, whether it's a question you want to leave with them to ponder or some type of encouragement you want to leave as they may be going into. We could just literally stick to acting and modeling and also the concept of fear, being on stage, confidence. You know, what's some words of encouragement that you can kind of leave for our audience?
Yeah. So some words of encouragement that I'd love to leave for the audience would just be when you're pursuing your field, whatever that looks like, whether it's music, modeling, acting, whatever it may be, is to not give up. I know that sometimes it is a roller coaster. Sometimes you're booking and things are great. And then there's times where it's quiet and you're not booking. And it's not for a lack of effort. You're doing everything you can. It's just sometimes auditions aren't coming, or if auditions are coming, it's still just maybe not working out. Yeah. In those kind of lower points is to not give up, not to despair, because you don't know what God has on the horizon for you. And the only thing that you can do is be faithful to what you're called to do. So if your passion and your calling, your life's purpose is in that field, is to show up and be ready and to be prepared. That's all you can do. Yeah. And the rest is kind of just in God's hands. There's an actress, what is her name? Is it Leticia? She played Marvel with Black Panther.
Oh,
is it Leticia?
Was it the one who was his sister?
Yeah. Now she's so. Black Panther.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I hope that's her name. Yeah, but she made a really good point. She said that she just does her auditions, and if it's meant for her, if God has it for her, she'll get it. And if it's not meant for her, God doesn't have it for her, then she won't get it. And I'm like, that's such a nice way to look at it. Yeah. And she's like, I don't want something that's not mine. And I'm like, that's so healthy.
That's so good.
Yeah. So I think it's just to remember, and in the low points, remembering that God's still with you. He still loves you. And that, your identity is found in him, that you're his child, that he has good plans and purposes for you. Just like Romans 8:28 says that he works everything for good. So even the rejections, and even one last person that I would mention is Gal Gadot. She plays Wonder Woman. She also had mentioned in an interview where she was just saying that she was getting like really tired. She had some awesome successes, like she was Miss Israel. She was in the Fast and Furious series, but she had said she was getting so tired of flying all the way. It was just really taxing on like her family. She had children, all the way to Los Angeles, and like if it didn't work out, it's just kind of a lot. So basically, kind of just when things don't pan out as planned, it's just a lot and it's exhausting. Kind of wondering, like, should I even continue with this? And then she got Wonder Woman, so good for her for not quitting.
Exactly.
So my message is don't quit, even when rejection or discouragement comes, and just to keep going, because God has good plans for you, and don't give up. If you don't shoot your shot, you never know when you'll score.
That's it. I love it. Yeah. Oh wow. And that's so great that you mentioned that, as far as not giving up, because you don't know what's on the horizon. Like you literally don't, because all of the rejection is like, man, but I got this coming for you in a few months. And if I say yes to this, you won't have room for that.
Right.
So just literally just accepting, oh, did this go through? Did this fall through? God's hand is over everything in my life. So then this was him, and I'm content.
Right.
And being okay with that. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for that.
Totally.
It's so great having you here.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
So much fun. Guys, this is Creative Encounter Podcast. Please, we would love for you guys to partner with this ministry. Remember, we are a nonprofit through ACT International. So if you guys want to support us, we would love to have more monthly partners who are supporting financially, so we can continue with the podcast, the monthly events that we have, Creative Encounter actual events, and Duet Z-Payne Music, being able to perform and lead worship and minister to people through music. So if you want to be a part of that, the link is in the description. To follow Keilah on all that she is doing, the link will be in the description below as well. We love you guys. Keilah, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Of course. I'll see you guys later. Bye.